What if I told you that the reason you exist has nothing to do with blind obedience and everything to do with becoming a co-creator with the divine, not a servant, not a bystander, but an active participant in the unfolding of creation itself? This idea may feel unsettling at first. It challenges what many of us have been taught. But according to the trance readings of Edgar Cayce, the purpose of human life is far more intimate, far more powerful, and far more demanding than simple worship from a distance. Cayce described the soul as something ancient, something that did not begin with your birth. You are not just a physical body navigating a temporary life. You are a spiritual being, an expression of the divine moving through time and space in order to remember who you truly are. In Cayce's view, God did not create humanity out of a need for praise. The divine lacks nothing. Instead, creation itself is an act of love, an extension of consciousness seeking to know itself more fully. And you, as a soul, are part of that exploration. Imagine a drop of water separated from the ocean. For a time, it experiences individuality. It moves, it changes, it learns, but it never truly loses its connection to the ocean from which it came. In the same way, Cayce suggested that each soul is a portion of the divine temporarily experiencing separation in order to grow in awareness. But why would the divine allow this separation in the first place? Cayce's readings point to a profound answer: free will. Human beings were given the ability to choose, not just simple choices, but meaningful, soul-shaping decisions. Choices that determine not only the course of a single lifetime, but the evolution of the soul across many lifetimes. Because in Cayce's philosophy, life does not begin and end in one existence. The soul returns again and again, each time carrying the impressions, lessons, and unfinished business of previous experiences. This cycle continues until the soul fully awakens to its divine nature. This is where the purpose becomes clear. You are here to learn, to grow, to refine your awareness, to transform your thoughts, your actions, and your intentions until they align with something higher. But this is not a passive process. Cayce emphasized that each thought you think has creative power. Each emotion you hold shapes your inner world. Each action you take contributes to the reality you experience. In this way, you are constantly creating, whether you realize it or not. And this is the deeper meaning behind being made in the image of God. It is not about physical form. It is about creative capacity. You are given the ability to shape reality through consciousness, to bring ideas into form, to influence the world around you through intention, belief, and action. This is the spark of the divine within you. But with that power comes responsibility. Because if your thoughts are rooted in fear, anger, or selfishness, you create disharmony. You move further away from your true nature. And the result is suffering. Not as punishment, but as a reflection of imbalance. On the other hand, when your thoughts are aligned with love, compassion, and understanding, you begin to restore harmony. You move closer to the divine, and life begins to reflect that alignment in subtle but powerful ways. This is the law of cause and effect, which Cayce often described in spiritual terms. Not as a system of reward and punishment, but as a natural process of learning. Every experience you have, every challenge, every relationship, every moment of joy or pain serves a purpose. It is an opportunity to grow in awareness, to make a different choice, to become more conscious of who you truly are. And this is where many people misunderstand the idea of God. They imagine a distant figure watching from above, judging every action. But Cayce's teaching suggests something very different. God is not separate from you. The divine is within you closer than your own breath. You are not trying to reach God. You are trying to remember your connection to what has always been present. So the question is not, why did God create you? The real question is, what are you choosing to become now that you are here? Because every moment is a chance to move closer to your true nature or further away from it. And the direction you choose shapes everything. In the next moments, we're going to go deeper into this idea of the soul's journey and what it truly means to live with purpose, awareness, and intention in a world that constantly pulls you in the opposite direction. If the soul is eternal, then this life is not the beginning of your story. It is a chapter. And according to Edgar Cayce, every chapter is carefully shaped by what came before it. This idea is often referred to as reincarnation, but Cayce described it in a deeply personal way. Not as a cycle you are trapped in, but as a process you are actively participating in. Each lifetime is an opportunity, a chance to refine your character, to correct past imbalances, and to grow closer to your divine nature. Think about the patterns in your life, the challenges that seem to repeat, the types of people you are drawn to, the struggles that feel almost familiar. Cayce believed these are not random. They are echoes, reflections of lessons your soul has not yet fully mastered. And this is where the concept of karma comes into play. Not as punishment, not as some cosmic scorecard keeping track of your mistakes, but as a system of balance, a way for the soul to experience the consequences of its own choices, so it can learn, adjust, and evolve. If you plant seeds of anger, you will eventually experience the effects of that anger. If you plant seeds of kindness, you will experience the effects of that kindness. It is not about judgment. It is about understanding. And understanding leads to transformation. Cayce often emphasized that the soul's purpose is not perfection, but alignment. To bring your thoughts, your actions, and your intentions into harmony with the higher ideals of love, patience, and compassion. But here's where it becomes challenging, because the world you live in does not always encourage this kind of growth. It pulls your attention outward, toward distractions, comparisons, and temporary satisfaction. It teaches you to measure your worth by external success rather than inner awareness. And over time, it becomes easy to forget that there is something deeper guiding your experience. This is what Cayce referred to as spiritual amnesia. You forget who you are. You identify completely with your body, your role, your circumstances. You begin to believe that this one life is all there is. And in doing so, you lose sight of the larger journey your soul is on. But even in that forgetting, something within you remains. A quiet awareness, a sense that there is more to life than what you can see. It shows up in moments of stillness, in times of reflection, in the questions that won't leave you alone. Why am I here? What is my purpose? Why do certain experiences feel so meaningful, while others feel empty? These questions are not. They are signals. They are the soul trying to remember itself. And when you begin to listen to those signals, something shifts. You start to see your life differently. Challenges are no longer just obstacles. They become opportunities for growth. Relationships are no longer encounters. They become mirrors, reflecting parts of yourself that are ready to be understood. Even pain takes on a different meaning. Instead of something to avoid at all costs, it becomes a teacher, a guide pointing you toward areas of your life that are out of alignment, areas where healing is needed, where awareness is calling for your attention. This does not mean suffering is easy. It doesn't mean you should seek it out. But it does mean that even your most difficult experiences can serve a purpose if you are willing to learn from them. Cayce's readings often return to one central idea: the importance of intention. Not just what you do, but why you do it. Two people can take the same action, but the inner motivation behind that action can lead to completely different outcomes on a soul level. Intention shapes energy, and energy shapes experience. So when you begin to act with awareness, when you choose kindness over reaction, patience over frustration, understanding over judgment, you are not just changing a moment. You are changing the direction of your soul's journey. And these small shifts matter more than you might think, because transformation does not happen all at once. It happens gradually, through consistent choices, through moments where you pause, reflect, and choose differently than you did before. This is how the soul evolves, not through grand gestures, but through daily awareness, through the way you speak to others, the way you respond to challenges, the way you treat yourself when no one else is watching, and perhaps most importantly, through your willingness to take responsibility for your own growth. Because while you may not control everything that happens to you, you always have control over how you respond. And in that response, your power lies. As we continue, we're going to explore what it truly means to reconnect with the divine within you, and how to begin aligning your life with the deeper purpose your soul has been moving toward all along. At some point, the soul grows tired of searching outside itself, tired of chasing validation, tired of repeating the same patterns, tired of feeling like something is missing, even when everything on the surface seems complete. And that's the moment everything begins to change. Cayce taught that the kingdom of God is not a distant place you arrive at after death. It is a state of consciousness, a living awareness that exists inside you, waiting to be recognized. But recognizing it requires something most people avoid: stillness. In a world filled with constant noise, distraction, and stimulation, silence can feel uncomfortable, even unsettling. Because when everything becomes quiet, you are left alone with your thoughts, your emotions, your true self. And for many, that is unfamiliar territory. But it is in that space that something profound begins to happen. You start to observe your own mind. You begin to notice the patterns of thought that have been running automatically for years. The fears, the doubts, the assumptions that shape your perception of reality. And once you see them clearly, you realize something important. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. This distinction is subtle, but it changes everything. Because if you are the awareness, then you have the ability to choose which thoughts you give your energy to. You are no longer at the mercy of every passing emotion or reaction. You begin to step into a new level of consciousness, one that is intentional rather than automatic. Cayce often spoke about the importance of meditation and prayer, not as religious rituals, but as tools for alignment. Prayer, he said, is speaking to the divine. Meditation is listening. And in that listening, you begin to reconnect with a deeper intelligence. A quiet guidance that does not come from fear or ego, but from something steady, something grounded, something true. This is what many people refer to as intuition. But Cayce would describe it as the soul's connection to the divine mind. It does not shout. It does not force. It simply offers direction if you are willing to pay attention. The challenge is learning to trust it, because the voice of intuition is often subtle, while the voice of fear is loud and urgent. Fear demands immediate action. It pushes, it pressures, it creates anxiety. Intuition invites. It feels calm, clear, certain even when it doesn't make logical sense. Learning to distinguish between the two is part of the journey. And the more you practice stillness, the easier it becomes. But inner connection alone is not enough. Cayce emphasized that true spiritual growth must be expressed through action. It is not about escaping the world. It is about engaging with it in a different way. Living with awareness means bringing that inner alignment into your daily life, into your relationships, your work, your decisions. It means treating others not as obstacles or competitors, but as fellow souls on their own journey. It means choosing compassion, even when it's difficult, choosing patience, even when you're frustrated, choosing integrity, even when no one is watching. because every interaction becomes an opportunity to express the divine qualities within you. This is what Cayce meant by being a co-creator. You are not just shaping your own experience. You are influencing the world around you through the energy you bring into it. Every thought, every word, every action carries an impact. And while that may sound like a heavy responsibility, it is also an incredible opportunity, because it means you are never powerless. Even in situations you cannot control, you still have the ability to bring presence, awareness, and intention into the moment, and that alone can shift everything. But there is one more piece to this that cannot be ignored: self-reflection. Cayce encouraged regular examination of the self, not in a harsh or judgmental way, but with honesty and curiosity. To ask yourself questions like, am I acting in alignment with my values? Am I responding fear or understanding? Am I growing or repeating? These questions are not meant to create guilt. They are meant to create awareness. Because awareness is the first step toward change. And change is what allows the soul to evolve. So if you feel like you've been stuck, if you feel like you've been going in circles, it may not be a sign that something is wrong. It may be a sign that something is ready to be seen. Something within you is asking for attention, for understanding, for transformation. And the moment you turn inward and begin to listen, you begin to move forward. In the final part, we're going to bring all of this together and explore what it truly means to live as a conscious creator, aligned with your purpose, in a world that is constantly testing your awareness. So what does it truly mean to live as a conscious co-creator? It means understanding that your life is not random. It is not meaningless. And it is not happening to you, it is unfolding through you. According to Edgar Cayce, the soul enters each lifetime with intention, carrying tendencies, lessons, and opportunities already in motion. But how those opportunities unfold depends on your awareness. This is where everything comes together. Your thoughts, your choices, and your responses are not separate. They are part of a continuous act of creation happening moment by moment. Once you truly see that, you cannot go back to living unconsciously. You begin to recognize that even the smallest decisions carry weight. The way you speak when you're frustrated, the way you handle disappointment, the way you treat yourself when you fall short. These moments may seem small, but they shape your direction. They either reinforce old patterns or create new ones. Most people wait for a big moment to change, a dramatic turning point, a life-altering event. But real transformation happens quietly. It happens when you pause before reacting, when you forgive instead of holding resentment, when you take responsibility instead of placing blame. These are the moments that shift your life. They move you from automatic behavior into conscious creation. Cayce spoke about the importance of having an ideal, something higher to live toward. For some, that ideal is love. For others, truth, compassion, service, or integrity. That ideal becomes your compass. When faced with a decision, you ask yourself, does this align with who I am becoming? Over time, those choices reshape your life. Not instantly, but steadily. You begin to feel clarity, even in uncertainty, because you are no longer reacting blindly. You are acting with intention. And that intention builds momentum. But there is one final truth. This journey is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering what you already are. You are not trying to earn your connection to the divine. That connection has always been there. You are removing the layers that made you forget. The fear, the doubt, the false beliefs. As those layers fall away, something natural emerges. A peace not dependent on circumstances. A purpose not tied to external success. A connection that cannot be taken away. This is awakening. Not a sudden transformation, but a steady remembering. Life begins to feel different. You still face challenges, but something deeper guides you. You begin to trust the process. You start to see meaning where you once saw chaos. You realize that nothing is wasted. No experience is random. Every moment contributes to your growth. So the question is no longer why you were created. The question becomes, now that you are here, how will you choose to live? Will you continue repeating the same patterns? Or will you step into awareness? Will you choose growth? Will you align your thoughts, actions, and intentions with your highest self? That choice is available right now. Not tomorrow. Now. And every moment after is another chance to choose again, to create again, to remember again. This is your purpose. Not to stand at a distance, but to participate. Not just to believe, but to become. Not to wait, but to awaken. And when you begin to live this way, you realize something that changes everything. You were never separate from the divine. You were only unaware. Until now,